Welcome to the ID10T podcast number 1101. Hey, let's talk about you, the ID10T community. Events at ID10T.com is the email that you will use to share a thing you made, or a thing that you like that you want to share, or a thing that you made with your friends. For instance, like Jennifer, who writes, my friends Christina Wald and Kat Klockow have created a thing. The Cincinnati Cabinet of Curiosities, comics, anthology, and podcast. The comic anthology is 36 pages exploring the paranormal lore of 6 locations in the Cincinnati region. All stories are written and illustrated by Cincinnati artists and include Satan's Hollow, Mermaids of the Ohio River, Loveland Frogman, Cincinnati Music Hall, and Sedumsville Rectory. I think I said that right. Sedamsville. Sedumsville. I apologize for not having the local knowledge to know how to pronounce that if I got it wrong. And if I got it right, I meant to do that. The podcast is Christina, Kat, and myself, in parentheses Jennifer, talking about local folklore, ghost stories, doppelgangers, and all sorts of creepy things. You can find the podcast on YouTube, Cincinnati Cabinet of Curiosities, or follow on Facebook or Instagram, Cincy Cabinet of Curiosities, CINCY Cabinet of Curiosities. That sounds like a fantastic podcast. Thank you so much, Jennifer. And see, now I'm going to have to listen. And then when I'm able to tour someday again doing stand-up and I come to Cincinnati, then I will have to visit these local folkloric places. Folkloric? Let's say that's a word. All right, let's make folklore an adjective and call it folkloric. That sounds reasonable. Thanks for sharing, Jennifer. Events at ID10T.com again for anything you would like to share. This episode is Lin Shaye, whom Lydia and I absolutely love. Lin is a legend in horror films, a legend. She was in the Insidious film series. She's been in a ton of great stuff, and she's phenomenal in everything that she's in, by the way. And she was on the podcast about 1.5 years ago and told some great stories about how she got the roles in Kingpin, and There's Something About Mary, and it was great. But she came to our house, and Lydia idolizes Lin, idolizes her career, and was really nervous to meet her. And Lin could not have been kinder, sweeter. And so we all became pals, and we just absolutely, like I said, we absolutely adore her. Lin is in a couple things that you can, well, she's in a ton of stuff, but she's in 2 newer things that you can watch. Number 1, Penny Dreadful City of Angels, which came out in April of this year, but, it was just right at the beginning of the pandemic and the quarantine. And so I think there just was not a lot, things weren't really being promoted that much back then because everything got flipped upside down. So I think the release of it kind of flew under the radar, but it is available. We got it in the Showtime Anytime app. You can watch it on Hulu if you have Showtime connected to that. And it looks fantastic. So that's Penny Dreadful, City of Angels. Lin is also in a movie that just came out called The Call, where she and other horror legend Tobin Bell play husband and wife. So that is available now. In the podcast, Lin says it's coming out Friday, but we recorded this a couple weeks ago, back in October. So it is out now. Lydia and I watched it, and it's so much fun, and they're amazing together. I really hope Lin and Tobin get to do more stuff together, but just could not be a bigger fan of Lin's and a bigger cheerleader for her. So Lin, thank you so much for being so wonderful. Thank you for coming back on the podcast. And Lydia and I hope to see you in the real world soon when that is a safe and okay thing to do. All right, here's the ID10T podcast number 1101 with the wonderful Lin Shaye.
Initiating ID10T protocol.
Pandemic here too.
Oh, Look at me. I'm in a hat. I haven't shaved in days. I'm wearing a
Oh, come on. You're a dude. You're a handsome guy. Get over it.
You know what? We're in the age of like, of all the things this year, it's like, hey, maybe, like having to present ourselves every time we leave, that maybe that's not as important anymore. Maybe there are other important things in the world.
Well, I have to tell you something funny. I had a podcast yesterday, which I thought was on camera. So I did. I spent the morning. I took a shower. I did my hair. I worked for I got into my makeup. And I looked great. And I realized it was just a podcast. I mean, it was just a.
I will say that.
So there I was, all dressed up and no place to go, literally. So I'm so glad.
That is the theme of this year, all dressed up and no place to go. It does feel good. I do take that back. It does kind of feel good to get dressed up sometimes and like kind of,
I've gone way down the tunnel. I mean, I'm having a really rough time with this. I no matter how many things there are trying to make it, cushion it and make it better and more normal, I don't know. It's really, it's accented my loneliness, my lack of participation, my fears. It's really played on all the scary parts of myself. And then I also came out the other end and really like how ridiculous I am. I finally go, okay, this is me.
It is that balance, it's trying to find that balance in a situation that we can't control, and also facing the fact that the amount of like security and control we had before was kind of an illusion. And so now it's like, shit. Well, if we're not and also like defining ourselves by what we do. And if we're not like what we do, if we're not right, like our careers or whatever, who are we?
Right. And my dog, it's like my dog and my cat are the ones defining me the most. I mean,
well, because you work a lot and you like to work on a lot of different things. And I imagine that, have you done any productions since quarantine?
We did. I did one day on a film called American Boogeyman, where I played Ted Bundy's mother, which was really, really fun. And it was Daniel Farrand is the director, and a really nice guy. It was the first day, literally, that films were being allowed to even have anything happening. And I was the first day of shooting, and all the COVID stuff was in place with everybody with the shields and the gloves and the hand. I mean, it's just fatiguing, but I was so happy. I loved the role, and I had a great scene. It was just one really long scene. And so once I was doing the work, it was business as usual. And then as soon as that was over, suddenly, the science fiction took over, right, with everybody in there. So, and it was done very safely. I mean, as safe as you can be, with a lot of people around. And I'm also doing a video game, which I'm not supposed to say too much about, but I've never done motion capture and all that stuff. So that's been really kind of wild and fun. And I've just done a couple days on that. And Penny Dreadful wrapped literally 1 week before the pandemic.
Oh my gosh.
And there was supposed to be a second season, which I was a part of, and it got canceled by Showtime.
Oh no, I'm so sorry. Yeah, that's been I've seen that happen to several people, and also several friends of mine, where the studios are just freaking out and losing money, and so they just start, chopping
stuff.
Hacking left and right.
And it's sort of it's the most beautiful show. It's, if you can see it, you should. It's 10 episodes, and it's called Los Angeles City of Angels, Penny Dreadful. It's their 4th season. John Logan, who's the original producer director of the first 3 years of Penny Dreadful, wrote it and overlooked and directed a bunch of the episodes. It's exquisite. It's sort of like, it's like television opera in a way. His writing is I mean, I've never really said this to John, but his writing is sort of like American Shakespeare. It's very, and you have to say it to the letter. He made that very clear. You do not change a word or any punctuation. It is what it is. And you express in your way what he wrote. It was for me a scary adventure, because I haven't done much television. And it's still, even though it's Showtime, it's still television. You still get there and they're ready and you're, am I hearing it? Where's my thing? Do I have my other thing and my other thing in action? Okay, we're on to the next scene. It was kind of, so it had kind of harrowing moments for me professionally, which I learned a lot, actually. I learned a lot about my own fear.
Well, but these limited, like these season-long arcs are basically like long-ass movies, like they're shot like film and chopped up in a way, like they're obviously serialized and then self-contained.
Totally.
So you're really shooting, like an 8 or 10 hour movie.
It's absolutely true. And Nathan Lane and I play Nazi hunters. It's 1938 Los Angeles.
Oh my God. Is this out?
Out, and I don't know what happened with promotion, what happened with them. It just sort of went under the radar, but it's, and Natalie Dormer from Game of Thrones plays 4 different characters.
Oh my God. She's great.
Yeah. It's really exquisite.
Lynn, my wife and I are going to watch the shit out of that because
binge on. I mean, it's really worth it. It's a fantastic show, and it's so upsetting. And it's this takes place LA 1938. They built Los Angeles 1938 on a set in Santa Clarita. They turned the old Hopalong Cassidy studio into Los Angeles 1938, and it was, I'm telling you, to the nth degree, the beauty of the set design, of wardrobe. It was the most beautiful. To me, I said it's like it's like watching opera almost. It's bigger than life. The story is sort of metaphorical and metaphysical and kind of horror couched within Los Angeles 1938, what was happening in the barrio with the Hispanic community being run out by big business and by the road companies and the graft of the mayors of the city. And it's just, really exciting.
By the way, you should have written copy for the promotional materials. Metaphorical, it's metaphysical. Like like everything you were saying. Like, oh my God, we have to watch this. I mean,
it's true. Maybe they should have. Maybe they should call me next time.
I mean, my wife and I adore you. And when you came on the podcast the first time a few years ago, she was so excited and nervous and when she did the movie that she did, you came to a screening of it.
Right, of course I did.
And she was just beside herself with joy. She was like, I can't believe Lynn came. I'm so, like, she was just so excited and so happy to have you there. And
well, she's a dream. I mean, in every way, not only is your wife, but she's also a beautiful actress and a wonderful person. I mean, I to date, and I've told this to my manager too, that was one of my favorite interviews ever, seeing your beautiful home. And I just heard via Katie that you got a new digs that sound pretty spectacular.
Yeah, I'd wanted to build a more permanent podcast studio because for so long, I used to have one. I was doing this Comedy Central show and I had one there in the studio. And then when that show ended, it was basically just like people coming over to my house and Katie would have to come set up all the equipment every time. And right. I was like, we really need like a permanent studio. And so we kind of got one up and running and then boom, like no one goes anywhere. So, but I have to say, we're incredibly fortunate that we live in an era where where we have technology that can allow us to at least communicate with people and connect and do this via Zoom. So at least we didn't have to shut the podcast down.
No, I'm with you. I mean, it's really a whole new mindset of how you communicate and what you can expect from people and what you can expect from your own kind of emotions. I feel very isolated, even though, I mean, I can go out, put my mask on and I go to Ralph's, woo! That produce aisle is so hot. But
about a year ago, I was like, hey, going to premieres. Now, like, hey, I'm going. Ralph's has some new pears.
Really, and they're and they're not overripe yet. Hurry!
I'm going to a pear. What do I wear to the pear premiere?
Really? I don't. But I think I think I don't think it's ever going to go back 100%. I think all of us are inextricably changed on some level from this, whether it's the way you relate to your family, your kids, whether you're the way you relate to yourself, the way you relate to your surroundings. We are being forced to examine things we have run away from also, I think, in our busy schedules. So I think there's really both positive and negative to it. But I'm out of control. I mean, I'm totally out of control. I talk to myself. I mean, if I had a speaker on, I could really do a one-woman show.
Maybe you should start recording them.
I don't know. I'm too scared to. It's too.
You could just like like rent out an empty theater and then just set up a camera and then just start doing monologues.
I mean, seriously, I feel like, my creative side is on fire, but my disciplinary side is gone. You know what I'm saying?
Talk to me about that. I would love to hear that, because I have not felt creative at all. I've decided that I'm just kind of giving into I think this is more of a period of study. I'm learning instruments and learning languages and
wow.
I've barely written anything. So I would love to hear, the creative fire, and then how that plays into why, where the lack of discipline comes in, that you think.
I think those are really big questions. Personally, my sense of ambition is gone at the moment. My sense of self-worth is high. I like I realize I really do. I like how goofy I am. And I like that I have such odd perspective on things that other people don't see the way I do. I'm proud of the truth teller that I seem to have become. I have very little censorship, sometimes to a fault. I mean, where I just tell people what I think, for better or for worse. And then I always apologize. I do have a strong sense of apology. But in terms of creativity, I have done nothing creative, except my house has been incredible. I've enjoyed being outside in my yard, fixing fountains. I'm a little bit of a carpenter. I mean, I love fixing things, and I love tools, and I love arts and craftsy things. I've been ordering paint and paintbrushes online and painting my little Buddha outside, painting my fountain and that kind of thing. But I haven't written anything other than letters to people. And in terms of I realized I'm sure there's a lot of people who are writing scripts and why aren't I doing that? But I think ambition is the word. I'm not at all connected to me moving forward in my career. My career I hope it's good. I hope it'll carry me through. But you're learning languages. I wouldn't begin to have the impetus or self-discipline to do that. I
think it's a distraction technique, though, because
what you're getting from it. I mean, distraction or none.
But that's kind of what the thinking was. It was just I can't go perform, and I'm not really, working in the way that I'm used to working, because everything's kind of morphed. And again, I'm lucky that I'm able to do a considerable amount of work from home. But I think a lot of that, it's just become sort of a passion of I'll just learn. I want to learn something. And so I'm compelled to do it. There's not really an end game with it, other than if I can't be creative, rather than sitting around and being depressed, I'm just going to try to learn something, because that kind of stimulates I feel like I'm doing something. Yeah, and
mine is physical. Mine has to be physical. I mean, I realized. I got so angry the other day about something. I didn't know what to do with myself. And my neighbor next door's gardener planted all this shitty bamboo, which is like a virus. Talk about viral. It will take over my house if I let it. And so, what I did.
Places where you're
you got here. I went up to where it's encroaching on my property.
Yeah.
And literally for a half hour, I tried to pull a fucking bamboo root out of the ground that couldn't be pulled out. And I knew it couldn't be pulled out. But at the end of it, I was exhausted. I knew I hadn't done anything. I had done nothing to, not even quelled really my anger, but I physically was exhausted. And for me, I've never been a dancer per se, but my body and using my body, even in my work, is very important to me. And I am a dancer, sort of. I mean, I express myself physically as well as vocally, or, and emotionally, really. And this for me was I just pulled and pulled and screamed. I mean, it was like a crazy person. I mean, if my neighbors had heard me, they might have called somebody. But at the end of it, I was, okay, I'm good. So came back in the house, drank some water, and answered some emails. It was like
Lin Shaye's bamboo therapy.
Yeah. It's like Mark Rydell, who's a wonderful director and who was one of the moderators at the Actors Studio. I remember during one of the sessions, he said, for an actor, we talk about how can you manifest anger and how can you manifest. He said, if you want to get angry, try to open a closet door from the wrong way as hard as you can, and don't give up. And that's what this was. That was me, like, I know I'm not going to get this fucking root out of the ground, but I am going to pull. I was like a dog. I became a total animal. Maybe don't tell anybody that.
I don't know how to, the only thing that I've ever known to do with bamboo that's getting out of control is just because the other thing that happens with Birds of Paradise too. It is almost unkillable. You have to somehow burrow into the earth, but if there's even a slight bit of the root system left,
it'll still come back.
It just comes back. You're like, where the fuck does this come from?
And that's like ferns. Ferns are like that too. When you have a yard with, and so my therapy, that for me, rather than sitting down and writing something or being creative in any way that has to do with my career, this is how I make myself feel better. I go out in my yard and I dig and I plant things, or I fix this, or I find ways to, what did I do the other day? Oh, I don't know. I just have all these little fountains all over, and I had to go clean all the pumps. You have to unplug everything. You have to undo everything, and you get the little brush, and there's something very satisfying about the physicality of it for me. But I've done nothing constructive.
But that's what you can control, that's what you can.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
You can
These are the
garden.
These are the things I can control, and I can't control anything else. So the things that have a beginning, a middle, and an end physically give me a sense of peace.
Well, and I really do believe that eventually, you're right. There's definitely, how can you not be changed by something like this, or the way that or the way that business is done, or the way that people interact or whatever. But I do think, if what I'm reading between the lines a little bit is your career is not over. You're going to work. People love you. They love working with you. You're just legendary. And you produce, so I really feel like you're going to be fine. I really do.
I hope so. I love what I get to do. And, there's been some like The Call, which is going to be released, which is part of why we're doing this interview as well, yes, to promote this. It's, I'm so glad it's coming out now, because this is when we kind of need the stimulation. It's nice to remember what you do and why you do it. And the thing I'm sort of happy about is I know there's no line between who I am and what I do. I really am. And I think that's why my characters are successful on some level. There's no separation. I tell as much the truth as I have in me within telling the story I'm supposed to be telling, as I do in playing with my dog. Nothing changes for me. And I love the participation and the camaraderie and the interaction between, the director, the actor, the producer, the screenwriter. That kind of community to me is comfort. That's my family, and it's gonna make me cry, but that's truly what I still need. I miss my family. Well,
you're going to get it back. I really, you're just such an important part of this business and such an important part of the horror community. And,
Thanks,
you know,
Chris.
it's good. I really do believe I believe it's going to be okay. And I believe you're going to be okay.
I think so too. You know, I mean, I'm grateful for all I've done, you know, because, and the fans I have been incredible. Gina, my manager, just sent me a bag full of fan mail. And boy, oh boy, if I ever want to feel good, I mean, people write 3-page letters about what they've seen me in and how they feel about it and how it made their kid feel. And I mean, it's really extraordinary, the outreach that art has. You know, it's not just being an actor. I mean, we as artists in this world have a real responsibility. We're communicators in the best sense, because people can't always hear what people say, but if it's in a story and it's on screen, they hear it and it goes in. You know, otherwise it can be, no, I don't want to know about that. I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to hear about that. So we really are the richest communicators of truth in a way to people. And I can't, that I'll never give up.
I never thought of it that way before, but you're absolutely right. You know, as an actor, your job is to be a truth teller from the point of view of whatever your character's point of view is. Even if, you know, even if it's like, okay, well, no, I'm not an evil spirit who is, you know, haunting people who wronged me. However, I can find the seed of truth in that and express that, you know, in a truthful way, which I think is, you know, when you were talking about blurring that line between your true self and what you bring to the screen, it definitely feels like that's kind of what you're talking about. It's like, well, to be a really good actor means to be a really good truth teller, because you can tell when someone's not telling the truth on screen. You can just tell.
Yep,
you know?
100%. So I'm very grateful if that's part of whatever that gift thing is, you know, that I can do. I'm forever, and you know, I'm forever grateful, and I love it.
I want to, and please just, you know, stop me if this pep talk is annoying, or if you don't want it, but I just, you're the same person who like did all the crazy makeup and showed up, you know, to the Farrelly brothers for that audition. And you have such an incredible will and determination that you know, I hope you also have faith in the fact that you're going to fucking figure this out. Like you're going to be good. You are good. And so I just, you know, I understand that it's hard now because we're sort of stalemated, but I just have so much faith and belief in you.
Thank you, Chris. That means a tremendous amount to me. I mean, it really does, because you're a real seer. You know, you also have you're a gifted speaker, but you also see into things in a way that a lot of, you know, broadcasters, moderators, podcasters, you know, it's nothing superficial. And I really thank you for that. I feel like that's true. And if anything, I'm honing my individuality.
Well, and also like it, you know, not to minimize everything that's going on by any stretch of the imagination, but I also do believe that this experience will serve you in some artistic way in the future. You know? I
agree. I think that is true. You know, the good news is, or we hope the good news is, that let's see what's going to happen next. You know, that really there's so much ahead of us. And I got to remember that too, because every day feels like, I'm not the first one to say it, feels like Groundhog Day. You know, I mean, it's sort of, and then something flies in and there's like, whoa, what just happened? You know, like, whoa, oh, that was just something else, you know, besides my routine. And we forget that I've sort of forgotten sometimes that the world has all this stuff going on, and things, it's like comets, you know, fly past you, and they will continue to do that no matter what. And we got to keep our eyes and will open to everything around us still, you know, no matter what it is. I mean, it's interesting, the things that change your day, you know, even on a walk with the dog, you know, depending on what you see out there, if your eyes are open. Right. You know, what are you noticing? Who did you, you know, there's all kinds of stuff to keep you wide open, to keep the flower petals open. Yeah. And it's easier to shut down, because it's easier to shut down. You know, it's easier to just kind of sit in a heap and go, well, there's nothing to do today, you know? And sometimes that's a relief too. I mean, I've had days in bed where I just go, I'm going to go take another nap.
Yeah. And by the way, that's not the lazy thing anymore. Like, that's the responsible thing.
Right.
Being a responsible citizen by
go take a nap.
So you actually can feel good about that. Like, you don't have to feel good. Before, you just felt like, now
I'm a slacker.
Yeah. Now it's like, no, I'm a responsible citizen. I'm being responsible.
Being alone too is very, I think about, families and that being sort of shut in together and how that changes the dynamic of a family. Right. We know that that it's for better and for worse, people who are together too much. And also there's the opposite where you never hardly see each other in real life because everybody's running around like chickens without a head. And here we are together and investigating people fall back in love with each other too, I think. So I think there's that. And being by myself has been, again, very self-investigative. I talk to myself nonstop, Chris. I mean, it's a little bit embarrassing because even I go say, okay, stop it now. And I say, don't talk to me like this.
Don't you talk to, I don't appreciate your tone.
Really? So just change the way you're talking to me, young lady. Yeah. And then I go, okay.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, humans are expressive creatures. We're meant to be expressive. And you in particular are very expressive and artistically expressive. And so, I think that's just I think that's normal. I think it's fine.
Well, it's helpful. I mean, it is because that's how I problem solve also is verbal. I realize verbally is one of the ways I problem solve. I mean, I always talk to myself because, I'm trying to think of when I was married. Maybe that's why I'm not anymore.
Do you find that that sort of verbalization process, it just kind of like, it's almost like self-therapy in a way, right?
Totally.
You're just
100%
out and processing, and sometimes hearing things out in the air is different than thinking things. And once you kind of get something out into the world, you can kind of understand it a little bit better or relieve the expression.
100% for me. I mean, and I think that, I think I've always done that on some level. It's sort of, when you're with somebody, often they become your sounding board too. It's like, well, what do you think? Which is as a couple, if you're living as a couple, that's actually great because you keep each other posted on what's going on inside of you. You don't just keep everything to yourself. And I think I've always, this is accelerated for sure. I really, from the minute I get up, I talk to either my animals or me. I'm very noisy. But it definitely is a way I keep myself. I cry a lot. My emotions are very fragile, and sometimes I cry for no reason. I'm just upset I don't even know about everything. I also have recognized that I really am an empath, whatever that means, that I absorb a lot of what's around me. And that's why my home has been so of value to me, because my home I love my house. I love where I am. I love every little detail, every little horse head that I have, every little thing I have, all my little things around me are because I put them there, not because a decorator did it or somebody else, a kid just threw stuff around. And so for me, it's my order. It's my sense of order and beauty. So I keep those things close to me, which give me a real base. It gives me a base. It makes me feel proud of myself and solid. So I hope you're right. I think everybody is dealing with this in their own way, and depending on their circumstances of either being alone or in a family with kids, or being just with a partner, or how much. Also, I haven't gone anywhere. I have friends, they've gotten in their car and they drive to Utah. I thought, good for them. I'm not that person. I wish I was. I have a girlfriend. She just gets in the car and, she drives off to wherever, Montana. She'll go.
Oh yeah. We haven't done that because I think it's like, well, where are we going to go? And then also like, well, we have to stop for food. We have to stop for gas. We have to stop.
Right, you got to wear gloves with the mask, and you got to be
like, we're being extra, like super, super extra careful. And at the end of it, it just sounds like, gosh, for us, and this isn't true for everyone, obviously, but just for us, it's like, I don't know if that really feels like a getaway.
Really, it's more trouble than it's worth ultimately.
Feels like a lot of trouble. There were a couple of places we were looking at going, and then but then of course a lot of people also had that idea, and so nothing was really available. And so we were like, well, I guess we'll just, we'll stay home. And so that's kind of what we've been doing. But you're right. We've gotten to spend more time together than we ever did before. And
it's really for better or for worse. I mean, because Lydia is also very expressive, and
she's wonderful. And it's been so wonderful. And we have discussed, like, God, if the year, like, not that we're happy that all this happened. However, since we are in this situation, how wonderful that we have gotten to spend this time together, when before we would have been running off on, like, she was running off to do movies. I was running off to do stand up, and, like, we'd see each other getting into bed. Okay, good night. Love you. And then kind of separate in the morning. And it's like, we've had this opportunity to really spend time together and talk about, like, starting a family. And so it's been,
that's great.
Yeah. So that part's been nice. And I also think, to your earlier point about being an empath, I mean, what you do, you're sort of like a medium in a way, it's like you embody characters. You do that by observing the world and re-expressing it. So you have to be very sensitive to the world. And I think the downside is that it makes you open and sort of raw when it's great, and it's a bummer when it's a bummer, because you feel all of it, because that's kind of part of
my job. That's kind of what I am. Yeah, no, I agree. Thank you those are also incredible compliments to me. I mean, I really, also the fact that you recall all the stuff we talked about. I mean, thank you, Chris. I really mean that. You're my favorite. I mean, I told that to Gina too. I said, if we're having any other interviews, it better be Chris.
that means the world.
Swear to God, I've said that to her.
Well, I mean, like, it, for me, there were so many, it's because I really just view these as conversations with people that I really want to learn more about, or people in your, like, I admire you and your work. And so just to sort of hear your path before, there were a lot of takeaways, and, like, just being yourself, embracing who you are, like, breaking the mold, figuring out how to go the extra mile to break boundaries, like all those roles that were so defining, that were those times where you just took these wild swings because you just felt you just felt something about it extra, and rather than going, no, I'm not gonna, you were like, fuck it, this is what I'm gonna do, and the determination and the will, and so you manifested and created those things. And it's fascinating to me because there were other people who also auditioned for, let's say, something about Mary. Maybe they had that thought, but they didn't follow it, And so you chose to do that. So you really did create this amazing career in a very difficult business, in a business that is fertilized with rejection and, like, really just playing on every insecurity that we have. And your ability to rise above that and do amazing work is just like, I mean, that's a masterclass, like, your career is a masterclass.
Wow. That's a quote I'll take away. I go back to thinking about my upbringing too, because we are impacted, of course, tremendously by our early years and how our parents see us, and the input they give us, and the rejection and reward quotient of family life, I grew up in the 50s, which was a very kind of, Betty Furness and the refrigerator, or standing in front of the refrigerator, advertising it on the new televisions and stuff. And my parents were very conservative, but not really. My mother, I realize this now, my mom really wanted to be a real Detroit lady. She was born in Russia and came to this country when she was 13 years old. She didn't speak a word of English, and at 13 was put into a class with 6-year-olds, first grade, didn't speak one word of English. She said she couldn't even get her legs under the desk because they were made for 6-year-olds. And for a 13-year-old, a pubescent, beautiful young girl, you can imagine, I can't even imagine what that must have been.
Right.
And she ended up graduating high school speaking perfect English. She never had a trace of an accent. At 17 years old, she graduated 12th grade, going from first grade to 12th grade in 4 years. And got a job. She typed like 190 words a minute. She learned to type. I mean, she was that person. And you would never really have known that when you talk to my mom, because she was just my mom. But when I think about the drive that's almost genetic, I mean, there must be something to that. I mean, I don't think they can isolate the gene. And my dad, too, was one of these people who just took the next step and the next step. He always used to say, you're like a pigeon. You put one foot in front of the other and you just keep, going forward. And so the little lessons, he also had a saying, said and done. There's a Yiddish expression. We're Jewish. And there was a Yiddish expression, gezucht and getan, which means said and done. And that's still something that haunts me. You say you're going to do something, you do it. Whether it's you say it to yourself or you say it to somebody else. You say it, you do it. And I feel like the fabric of my family sort of supported me and allowed me to sort of grow outside of that, like have tendrils, growing outside of that fabric. And I have, for whatever that is, I do have a surety about what I want, not always how to get it, but once I start moving forward, it's like pulling the bamboo out of the ground. Whether I get it or not, I'm going to keep trying.
Right.
And most gratefully, a lot of roots come up. You can pull a lot out. There's some you got to go, all right, I gave it my all and I'm done. And I mean, you have to, when to hold and when to fold. That's also something to know.
But the one foot in front of the other thing, which is, very, very close to like one day at a time, which is, but the one foot in front of the other thing is such a elegantly simple way, when you're feeling overwhelmed, to just strip all the other stuff away and just go one foot in front of the other. Today, what can I do today? Well, I can go and clean out a fountain, or I can go dig out a weed, or I can go do something, and that's the one foot in front of the other. And
that's in motion. One day at a time is different. One foot in front of the other is active, where one day at a time more emotion, more philosophical.
Right.
And I think that, and I really, that image, of just, I've gotten old, for real. I've gotten old, and I go, and especially this pandemic, I go, oh my God, where did that come from? And, you look and say, where is it? Why did I get that from? Because I spend so much time with myself. Yeah. And yet I have zero sense of my own age, all I have a sense of is now. That's kind of like, and I talk to myself to create a joy factor often. Look at all I have to be grateful for. I do. I say, just stop it already. I told you my two little voices. And I'm just, all right, you're right. Yeah. But anyway, I'm sort of just all over.
Not at all, because it's not, I don't think it's about, everyone's going to have doubts and everyone's going to have days where they feel like everything's insurmountable, and everyone's going to, a lot of people are going to talk to themselves. It's just, then what do you do with it once you're in that situation? You can obviously feel it, and there are a lot of mindful practices that say, like, listen, if your body's trying to feel something, just allow yourself to feel it, live in it for a minute, and then acknowledge it and then let it go. The more you fight it, the more it holds on, and the more it kind of, holds root. It's weirdly like a lot of the theme of like a lot of horror films, like a lot of, especially ghost stories, where it's like fighting, just acknowledge the spirit, and then it moves on, just live with it. And so maybe there is something to that too, that it's okay. I think we want our lives to never feel uncomfortable, and we want it to, like, 100% of the time to be like, hey, everything feels great. And, sometimes it's okay to not feel great, but then it's just like acknowledging it and then
letting it go. That's what you do well also. People say you shouldn't be hate, you shouldn't be angry. Bullshit. I don't buy that. I'm allowed to feel the way I feel and express it. And if I pretend I don't feel that, I think that's what gives you cancer. I think that's that you eat, you turn stuff into yourself that you don't acknowledge that you're feeling, I think is bad for you. And so I am all for acknowledging my own sense of hate, my own sense of failure, my own sense of, I'm a part of all those things. And as an artist also, those are valued for me to be able to really own and to really be able to express. And I mean,
you're talking about owning those feelings, and that's part of the, that's part of your human experience.
Yeah.
You're feeling all of it, not just for your own personal sense of well-being and expression, but again, also, like because of what you do, it's like you don't just play one type of role. You play all, like there's a whole scope of things that you do.
And it's true, we all, to be able to really acknowledge all the human emotions, basically, without censoring, saying this is not good for me to think, or this is not good for me to feel. I mean, just stuff like, I live on a small street and these workers come up and they're driving like 35 miles an hour on curbs, and I'm with my dog. I mean, it unleashes something in me that's almost crazy. I mean, almost.
I saw that. I saw the same thing happen with us, where we were walking our dog on a street. There's not a lot of sidewalks where we live, so you kind of have to. We just hug the curb.
Yeah, we have none. So,
and when people go whipping around the corner, Lydia's like, "What the fuck?" Because it's dangerous.
Really, I chased a guy down the street.
Oh my gosh.
And then I thought, and as I'm running, I'm going, you shouldn't be doing this, Linda, because people have guns in their glove compartments. And I mean, that's the truth. You see what's going on in the world. You shouldn't, a little pisher like me, who weighs 100 pounds, should not be running down the street after, a 6'3" guy in a sports car.
But I understand, because it's like, that's putting people's safety, and really, it's an easily avoidable thing. Just like, don't go whipping around curbs fast. That's not, you don't. But have
that's part and parcel of what we, everybody thinks everybody, and literally when I went tearing down the street like that, and I mean, you should have heard me. I mean, I was a little bit nuts. I thought, you fucking motherfucker. I unleashed every obscenity I've ever learned. And he got out of the car. He totally ignored me, which made it worse,
Yeah.
Just like pretended he didn't hear me. And I was just fuming. And then I thought, well, this is really bad for me. But then I thought, no, it isn't. This is good for me. This is good for me to let this, because if I hadn't expressed it, I would have been holding it all in. And,
you're also standing up for something you believe in. And also, you're right.
Really?
Like, you're just right.
It's someone who ignores you. It's like the person, it's because it's interesting on the street. Us, again, we have no sidewalks either. It's either people see a dog and a person in the middle of the street who hasn't noticed them yet. And they, even if they're coming a little bit fast, they slow down and they acknowledge you. And then maybe they speed up and go away. These guys don't even acknowledge you, like you don't exist. And that's also a trigger. Someone who totally ignores you and pretends you're not there. I mean,
right.
And that, oh my God, No. Oh no.
That's not going to fly. That's
not going to fly. You're going to at least know I was here.
By the way, you're chasing after this person, but you have a dog on a leash?
I have a dog with me. She's running and barking.
Oh, what kind of dog do you? What kind of dog is barking at this guy?
She's a little terrier. Where is she? I can see if I can find a little picture of her. She's a cross between. We think she's got like Lhasa Apso or Shih Tzu in her because she's got these long lashes. She's about 30 pounds. Let me see if I can pull up a cute picture of her. And she's totally non-aggressive. I mean, she loves people. Here's a picture of her, if you can see it.
Oh, that's adorable. But maybe in that moment, she was like, we're going to take this motherfucker down.
Really? And she kept looking at me like, is this good? Am I doing it? And the two of us, it was actually very satisfying. It bonded Lily because she's barking and barking. And then she's looking at me. Was that okay, Mom? Okay, let's go. And the two of us really just ran, the whole street. And it's usually, and it's people who don't live on the street, obviously. There's a lot of workmen who come up here. There's all this construction going on at the end of the street and somewhere else on the street. And I mean, I'm usually friends with half these guys because we see them every day. But there's a group that are just unacceptable, in my opinion, to be the way they treat the people who live on the street. That's the only thing I'm saying.
Yeah, well, that's also threatening to your community, and it's like it is. Because again, someone could get hit by a car, and it's like this didn't have to happen. Just take it easy. It's like you
acknowledge another
saving a 2 seconds on your commute, by going the speed limit around a curve in a neighborhood versus trying to just whip around,
Right.
That's just a complete
it's just
disregard. But to me, it seems like you're doing all the things that you can do to get through this, and you're having emotions and you're acknowledging them and you're feeling them and you're expressing them, and then you're putting it one foot in front of the other. Like, that's what the fuck else are we supposed to do? It's not, and you're walking the dog and you're gardening and you're still and this is technically like you're promoting a movie. So this is, it's conversational, but it is also technically like you're doing work. So that's good. That's productive,
By the way, The Call, which I should talk about.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I'm here is a wonderful film. It's a little horror film that was
Tobin Bell.
Me and Tobin Bell. And that was actually a really great idea because originally the script came from a client of my manager's, Randy Goodwin, who had the script who lives in Omaha, I think. And Patrick Stibbs, who was the writer, had this script. And so he gave it to Randy, who gave it to my manager, to Gina Rugolo. And there was a role for me in it. It was very different when the original script, it was very heavy on sort of this woman being a witch. And I'm sort of, I look for the humanity even in the supernatural, so to speak. So we kept going through it and I kept looking to see what was the core of who I thought this woman was. And it's sort of through conversations and gratefully through Patrick, who was a wonderful writer, but also a great listener and a great collaborator. And I have to thank him immensely for putting up with all my thoughts and my ideas and incorporating them. And Jeffrey Reddick, who produced the Final Destination series, is one of the producers as well. So we had a really good team. And I worked with Timothy on The Final Wish, which was a movie we did previously that also did quite well. And so what I kept looking for was the humanity in this woman. And so it sort of became thematically about bullying, because it's about this woman and her husband, Tobin Bell, who plays my husband. And when it was Gina, my manager, who suggested Tobin. And I thought, oh my God, that's so perfect. Because we are both the children of James Wan and Lee Winnell.
And also it's just like, you're both just so legendary. And it's like, oh my God, the two of them together? Amazing.
Right. And totally different worlds. So the world of Saw is totally different than the world of Insidious. But it is ironic that, James Wan and Lee Winnell, who were 100% responsible for Saw and 100% responsible for Insidious, here are two actors who had never met. And so, and he agreed to do it. And it became a little bit more for me about this woman who she ran. Timothy added this in, that she ran a preschool, and that there's a little girl that disappears. It's kind of a murder mystery in a way. And Edith, my character, gets blamed for they think these kids accuse me of having killed her, basically, and pretended whatever we did with the body, etc. They never found the little girl. And over a period of time, they harassed me to such a point of deterioration. And instead of me being in my head, instead of her being a witch, with chanting and doing this thing, that the deterioration that these kids, the deterioration that they bestowed on her as she got lower and lower and lower, she kind of went to witchcraft as anything to help herself, kind of. And she ends up doing bad things to herself, and then she does come back and give the kids their comeuppance. So I really get to play evil, evil that has been spawned by bullying, that she's been turned into this evil person, this mean person. You can say she's mean. She's not so much mean as just she's horrific, but she's had it. And when she has the opportunity, she takes kind of revenge on these kids.
Much like the guy in the sports car coming around the bend.
Not quite. Well, a little bit like that, yeah.
Yeah. But this movie's already out, right? It's on VOD.
It's coming out October 30th. So what's today? Tomorrow.
Yeah. So by the time this goes up, it'll be out.
Yes. So it's on all the platforms. I don't even know what all that means, to be honest, but it's on VOD and on digital. And actually, Timothy wrote me what I'm supposed to say. If I can find it, because he wrote me a thing. Let's see, from Timothy. It's going to be, it will be Friday, this Friday, Apple TV, Amazon, Vudu, that's VUDU, Google Play, Fandango, and Fandango Now, and the main digital ones, which will be on demand as well for TV. Do you know?
Yeah, so all the places. It's in all the places.
So all the places.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, we can't wait to see it. Because when this popped up, I was like, I was telling Lydia, Lynn's going to come back on the podcast. She's in a movie with Tobin Bell. And she was just like, her mouth dropped. Oh my God.
Tobin is great in it. He talks about this one. We had a little podcast together yesterday. He's got this one scene in the middle of the movie, which is kind of a very long, a lot of pages basically, which is how an actor finally goes, I got a lot of pages here to learn. And it's a very beautiful scene. And he was really lovely to work with. We had never met. And we didn't chit chat at all. We had a couple very lovely scenes together. There's one that's not in the actual film that I kind of miss. But the crux of the relationship is there. And I think he really turns the film into something very elegant. Also, he's a very elegant guy, and the way he conducts himself both on set and in the characters he plays, even evil.
That's fantastic. Well, we're very excited to see it. We're definitely going to see it. Actually, by the time this goes up, we probably will have already seen it.
Oh, good. Let me know what you think. I'd be curious. Just between me and you.
Yeah, I'll shoot you a text. But it just has all the elements that it's like I can't imagine we're not going to love it. And we get very excited. Also, just reminding you that what you do is helpful and impactful to people, because I feel like we've watched so much of everything and it's become like really our nightly ritual. Like, well, what are we gonna watch together tonight? And there are some nights where we just are scrolling through, horror movies and going, oh, we saw that. Yeah, I don't know that. And so when there's a new one that comes out, it's like, holy shit, that's our Friday night. We're gonna.
Have you seen Room for Rent? Did you see this other film I did?
Oh yeah, with the lady with the guy who rents the room and then it goes sideways. Yeah. Oh, that was great. Yeah.
Because it's a very small film that
You produced that.
I produced it, as well. Because that's one of my favorite characters I've ever played. I love that character and I love the story too. I thought it was. But, so that's just kind of always out there. But this was special. Timothy is a very talented guy. Really smart director and great to work with. There were a couple moments he gave me, where you're in the middle of a scene, he'll just say, do it like this. And I am sort of a director's dream because I'm very directable. I'll try anything, it's kind of like, I'll do anything basically. And he really unlocked some moments for me that were really beautiful in the film. So I'm very grateful to him for that.
Yeah, Lydia was particular, like Lydia as a, because I think Lydia looks to your career as like the model of the career that she really
God
wants.
Bless her little heart.
And so she was like so blown away by your performance in Room for Rent, because it really is. Most of it just takes place in this house, this house that this woman is in.
It was really no money and just a core of people. And our lighting department were two guys with cellophane. Literally, during the shoot, they'd be standing in front of the light because there was nothing to it. They didn't have enough clips to clip it on. So it was really, but it just shows, it sort of goes to show you that it's story and character still that makes something important and resonate to the audience. It's not about the biggest production or the biggest this or that. And that's something to tell the fans, you really can shoot a movie on your iPhone if you want to and make it great. You really can have no money. And if you've got great ideas and are able to execute them with, in good faith, you can create almost anything.
You need a good cinematographer. Like it's
Totally.
if someone knows how to, I think everyone sort of fashions themselves as like, oh, I'm a photographer. It's like, no, you're a picture taker because of Instagram.
You are a picture taker.
They're very, it's like the amount of photography is very specialized. Like a DP is a very specialized, like that's about shot composition, not like angling your hand in the right way to
right. Or by the way, Pablo Diaz, who did the cinematography for Timothy and in The Call, he always works with Timothy. He's done all of Timothy's movies. He is brilliant. He's just the best. He and Timothy's also really great with that, of knowing shots. And when you watch it, you'll see what he did with camera and with also color composition. It's a very dark film. I mean, literally also very dark, and lots of reds and greens. It's a very cold film. And you realize how much those elements play on the viewer's emotions. People think it's just about the acting and the story, but it's not. I mean, when you're visually, we are so impacted and manipulated by color, composition, sound. Of course, the music has a huge impact also on the way you experience a piece of film. But it's very prominent in Timothy's movies because he's very involved in the picture and what you are creating to impact the story. So you'll be happy.
By the way, I've just been eyeing it the whole conversation. There's a really cool old pinball machine in your background.
Yep. And you gotta come to my house when this thing's over.
I would love to. I see at least 2 machines there, maybe.
Yeah, one is Lord of the Rings. That's the one in the far one, and this is an old '60s that we got at an auction. A theater. We had a theater company when I first met my husband, actually. And there was a raffle, and this was one of the raffles. It doesn't work right now. It lights up. And there's only one guy that I found in LA who can repair old pinball machines. I've still got his number somewhere, and he fixed it so it worked. And then it went out again. And the circuitry, I don't even think you can get the circuitry anymore or something. But someday I'll find somebody who can still fix it and repair it. It's a great old machine.
I mean, I do know a really great arcade guy.
Okay.
If so, I'll give you his info.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure he probably would be able to. I mean, like when things clear up,
Yeah.
And you can have like people come to your house,
Right. No, but okay, you're on for that, and you guys are invited for dinner as soon as possible.
Oh my God, that would be so wonderful. Like, I really, I just can't express to you enough what a joy it is to know you and to have gotten to be, friends with you, and how meaningful it's been to Lydia too. And, I just say, everything you're feeling is understandable, and it's okay. And it sounds like, like the way that you're talking about how you're expressing all of it sounds like, oh yeah, I think that sounds like the healthiest. Like, what else do you?
What else? I do laugh a lot also. I mean, I crack myself up in a good way. I mean, it's like that other little voice that says, go, go, go. And yeah, keeping to remember my dad's putting one pigeon foot in front of the other, and that this too shall pass. That was the other thing he used to always say. I've thought a lot about my family during this time too, because I haven't, seen them for a long. I mean, my brother's still doing fine. He's, I think going to go there for Thanksgiving. I still want to be careful about family gatherings, how many of us get together, because I have nieces who live in Seattle, people coming from different places, and I want to stay well. I do not want to catch this thing and, or be a carrier of any kind, but we'll see. But anyway, I adore you. I mean, I have so much respect for you, Chris, and I'm so excited that you like me.
Oh my gosh, are you kidding? No, I wish I could give you a hug and just tell you that you're okay and it's going to be okay, and that all those feelings that you're feeling, like all of them are understandable and normal, and I think you're doing all the best stuff that you can do. And my takeaway from this will be the image of a pigeon just putting one foot in front of the other, of just put one, just take that next step.
Just keep going. If there's a curve, you step down. And then you keep walking, and then when it comes up again, you step up, and then you keep going, and you keep going. It's a beautiful image. I thank my family for giving me the support by leaving me alone to do what I love. And that's really part of it. They left me alone to do what I love, and just kind of watched it happen. And they didn't try to manipulate me too much, even though my mom really wanted me to marry a guy and live on the street down the street from her in Detroit. That was what she would have loved. But she left me alone. She knew I was on another thing. And I think it's important to get that if you can, to get support from your family is immeasurable in terms of giving you confidence that you're making the right choices for yourself. Well, so thank you, Mom and Dad, wherever you are.
I appreciate your strength and openness and force of will, and I really hope that I do hope we get to see you in the not too distant future. I mean, Lydia says hi. She's in another part of the house. Right? I almost was going to see if I could get her to come up, but she might actually be putting an audition on tape right now. On tape. Why do I say tape? Tape's just not a thing.
Really.
Not a fucking thing anymore. But that's just what we used to call it. It's on tape. She's doing it on tape. No, she's doing it on her phone.
She's got the old recorder. The two.
Yeah, she's got. There's like a reel to reel, and she's no, so she's but she says hi too, and so we'll bug you from time to time. Just reach out and say hi and see how you're doing.
I was just going to say, we don't have to do a podcast to do it. Thank you, Chris. See Penny Dreadful. If you can watch it, I think you'll get a kick. It's 10 episodes.
Absolutely.
It was on Showtime. I don't know if they still have it running. I'm sure they must.
Yeah.
This wasn't that long ago. And again, I thank you for the support and real love I feel from you, over my career and everything. And I really, really, really thank you. You're just wonderful as well. And
hang in there, Lin Shaye. Hang in there. You're gonna be okay. And and thanks for being here. And thanks for being here in your house. And people should watch The Call, which is out.
Out. It's out there. Watch it. You won't be sorry. You might be scared, but you won't be sorry.
And I promise that if we do come to your house, we will drive responsibly around the curves.
Okay.
Promise you that.
Love you guys. Thank you so much.
Take care, Lynn.
Okay. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
ID10T scanning complete. Enjoy your burrito.